this and that and what the fuck else, episode 139. The numbers are climbing. It's a lot of videos that I've made so far and a lot of information that I have shared with you. And I want to thank you for your support and thank you for sharing the stuff and thank you for liking the stuff. All of it helps the channel. And there is a lot of resistance from the platforms for what I'm doing because I'm not what you would say pro-regimes and pro-plagues and pro-whatever. And contrary to the mainstream media, I bring you the other side of the story. And I bring you a lot of stuff that you would most probably never have seen if you didn't watch my channel. That's what I like to do, dig those things out. Now, on this one I'm not going to start with an image because I've got quite a nice slideshow to show you. And it is the Kola Peninsula. The Kola Peninsula is a peninsula in the extreme northwest of Russia and one of the largest peninsulas of Europe. Photos by Oleg Semenkiewicz. I love Russia, he says. Look at those images. Look at that snow cover. I'm trying to imagine what it must be like to live there. And it would be, obviously for me as a photographer, it would be fantastic to see this with my own eyes and have my camera with me. Enjoy. That is spectacular, to say the least. This edition is going to be filled with a lot of information, so I'm just going to go a bit faster than usual. And I'm going to start off with the global revolution and listen to Maria Zakharova. She's the main spokeswoman for the Russian foreign. Blinken lied about exchange with Lavrov. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was lying when he claimed that he and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov discussed the wrongful detention of Paul Whelan, a former US Marine currently serving a 16-year prison term in Russia for espionage, the foreign ministry in Moscow said. The United States has put forward a serious proposal. Moscow should accept it, Blinken said at the press conference on Thursday, although Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova denied those claims on Friday. According to her, Lavrov's American counterpart had not brought up the Whelan's case, with Zakharova describing Blinken's statement as lies and example of astounding behavior by the US government. Yeah, what can I say? Those Americans like to lie. And then there's this interesting piece of information. Telesurgery using 5G and robotics. A doctor in eastern China is operating a woman in Xinjiang, 4,500 kilometers away. Hello, future. All I'm going to say is, what the hell happens with the load shedding? That could be anxious moments if the power goes down. And then there's this information. Just listen to it. Take in consideration it was written in 1972. Shortly the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news. How true is that? And then we get to this. The French ambassador to Israel admits NATO promised Soviet Union alliance it wouldn't expand eastwards. In 1989 and 1990, we said orally, unfortunately nothing was written down, that some countries of the Eastern Bloc, the Warsaw Pact, would not join NATO. I was personally in the room at the moment as part of the staff of the French Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, and Gorbachev, the top Soviet leader, was told this very clearly by Ambassador Eric Dannen. Russia has repeatedly stated that the West promised Moscow it won't expand east. And look at this map. This is what they did. The reason why I brought this up is because lately the West denied that they ever made such a promise. And now here is from a guy that with him was in the room and witnessed it. Again, lies by the West. And then we get to that G20 meeting, and this was a discussion with Lavrov. War on everything Russian in Ukraine. NATO's double dealing and new horizons. Highlights of the Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov's interview with Sanjoy Yoshi at the Raisina Dialogue. Understanding of NATO's attitude towards Russia from late 1990s is needed. The Minsk agreements used to increase Ukraine military, no interest in implementation by all sides but Russia. After the 2014 coup in Ukraine legally cancelled the Russian language and no reaction from the global bodies. No talk of negotiation from Western leaders, only defeat and dismemberment of Russia. Russia sees India and China as reliable partners and works together with them. BRICS is the way forward, with over 24 countries wanting to join. Russia's energy policy is turning away from the West and will no longer be open to attacks as with Nord Stream. Well, the West should take note of this, and the world should actually take. And then we get to this Baltics. They are out of their mind and they are led by crazy people and they are begging to be calibrated, if you ask me. Only NATO or nukes can save Ukraine from Russia, Estonia Foreign Minister. Urmas Reinsalu said that it is time for Ukraine to be accepted into the North Atlantic Alliance and that just words about an open door are not enough. Those people are crazy. And then we get to this guy, the only sane leader in Europe. Europe needs a new NATO without the US, Orban. Europe needs its own military bloc free of American influence, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban told Swiss magazine Weltwoche on Thursday. The politician accused the US of dragging Europe into a conflict that cannot be won and risking global war. The solution would be a European NATO, Orban said, arguing that America's desire for further expansion of its influence is what led to the current tensions between the West and Russia. Moscow is concerned about NATO expanding further east into Ukraine and Georgia, Orban stated, referring to his conversation with the Russian President Vladimir Putin just weeks before the conflict between Moscow and Kiev erupted in late February 2022. Nobody listens. The big problem is that European Union, the countries in there, most of them, their ministers of defense is some chick, and their leaders are some chick, and listen to that chick from the EC, that von der Leyen chick. They are crazy. They don't know what war is. They don't understand what happens in a war zone. They don't have any clue. And that Dumbak, she takes the cake. But the European citizens are going to pay for those bad choices. And then we get to this racism shit. White people have a simple choice to make. 1. Be conquered, enslaved, raped and genocided while being called racist. 2. Claim our nations and our dignity while being called racists. It's a simple choice. And that is a lot of truth. And then we've got Lavrov again. Russia's foreign minister calls Biden's trip to Kiev a new package of military assistance a performance. Sergei Lavrov also noted that attempts to save the Nazi regime are futile. Well, once again, the West don't pay attention. And then we get to this. I listened to a debate the other night and people were all in agreement that Russia is not putting its best weapons into the fight in Ukraine. Slowly but surely some of its more potent weapons are coming out, but just all the time, just enough to counter what the West is pushing into Ukraine. Defense Express claims that the Russian Federation has for the first time used new glide bombs weighing 1,500 kg in Ukraine. Controlled PAB 1500V are equipped with inertial and satellite navigation systems and are capable of hitting highly protected targets, and they can be dropped 40 kilometers from the target. I've read another article, apparently that thing is potent and it is extremely accurate. And then we get to that Borrel with his European garden. Borrel, the rejection of Russian oil could seriously destabilize the market. Rejection of Russian oil could seriously destabilize the market, said the head of Euro diplomacy, Joseph Borrell. He said it was impossible to refuse the purchase of Russian oil. The oil market must be balanced, and if everyone in the world does not buy Russian oil, we will have problems because the market will be very unbalanced, he explained. Also, Borrell added that the EU has nothing against Russian energy supplies to states that are not part of the sanctions campaign, for example, India. What the fuck is this? Is this man now also on that white stuff from Kiev? Listen to the contradictions in what he is saying here. They are the ones that are sanctioning Russian energy. They are the ones that want limits on the barrel prices and things like that. They are the ones that want to sanction countries that buy oil from Russia. They are the ones that want to interrupt the shipment of oil. They are the ones that don't want to insure those oil shipments. And now he comes out with shit like this. The oil market must be balanced. I cannot understand this. These people, every day, the idiocy of the European leaders jumps to the foreground. And I thought here in South Africa we were cursed with this low IQ leadership. But they've got competition in Europe. And then we get to that terrorist attack into those southern villages in Russia on the northern border of Ukraine. That was an ugly thing, but it was a PR disaster. That thing is falling apart and it's costing the Ukraine and the West points. And listen to this. Navalny activist was involved in the terrorist attack at the Briekmerke region. How's that? And then this Nazi stalker of mine is a great Navalny fan. Navalny is in jail because he was paid by the CIA to do color revolutions in Moscow. And they caught him with the money. Now listen to this guy. Part of a terrorist gang. Terror attack in Russia. Kiev approved the deadly raid into Russia. New Nazi behind the attack. The recent deadly cross-border raid on several Russian villages was approved in advance by Kiev. A new Nazi fighter involved and in the attack, tells the Financial Times, with Ukrainian authorities previously trying to distance themselves from the incursion. Yeah, And that guy was very, very, as we say in Afrikaans, windgat with all his television appearances. And he made absolutely no excuse for the fact that he was openly a neo-Nazi. The head of the neo-Nazi group behind the terror attack says it was approved by Kiev. Dennis Nikitin, 39 years old, born in Russia, has connections with the neo-Nazis across Europe, lives in Kiev since 2017. The recently deadly cross-border raid on several Russian villages was approved in advance by Kiev. A neo-Nazi fighter involved in the attack tells the Financial Times, with Ukrainian authorities previously trying to distance themselves from the incursion. And in another interview he said, there was no way that his team could get to the northern parts of Kiev and cross the border without assistance of the Kiev regime. Yeah, he said it. Then we get to this, the UK. Homelessness up over a quarter in England as the government puts up thousands of migrants in hotels. The number of homeless people in England has risen by a quarter in connection with the decision of the authorities to settle thousands of migrants in hotels. And England has got a lot of stories on the international market, but their home is falling apart. And they've got money to pump into Kiev, but they can't look after this. And then we get to this madness from the US. You can just listen to it and shake your head. China needs to accept US is a leader, Ambassador Burns says. Nicholas Burns, the US ambassador to China, said that Washington was not seeking confrontation with Beijing, but the US leadership in some areas was needed. What arrogant shit is that? China needs to accept the US is a leader. How arrogant can you be? And then we get to that what a fuck moment. And you can just listen to it. Look at this. California legislature passes a bill reducing penalties for oral and anal sex with willing children. How the hell can you do that? Willing children. How can children be willing against adults? That Satanists are going to pay for this. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing, and especially share on Facebook and share on Twitter. I would appreciate that. Thank you.